Live and direct from the Memphis Pink Palace Museum in the GeoLab, I'm meteorologist and chief curiosity correspondent Austen Onek. I actually work here when I'm not at News Channel 3 part-time as part of the education staff and talking to people about all sorts of different things, many different programs that we feature here. What we're talking about today is for you, for the people out there who have younger kids who want to see the eclipse, but also want to make certain they stay safe. Now, even though we are going to be seeing 95% of the sun covered when the eclipse happens here in Memphis in the Mid-South area, that is still a lot of light, and it is still dangerous to look at with the unimpeded eye. So if the kids are going to be out there looking around for the eclipse and what goes on out there, they do not look at the sun, neither do you. This is why. Behind me, you can just see the basketball by my ear. That's the moon, and we've got a light posted up here to represent the sun. The basketball is covering over 95% of the light surface, and you can still see how much light is actually getting through. This is why it's important to make certain the kids are protected. But what do? Here's some suggestions that you can use when you're helping the littler kids find out more about the eclipse. If you've got a telescope or an old spotting scope, maybe for a rifle, hunting rifle, things like that, or maybe just a small handheld telescope or a pair of binoculars, you can use these, focus the lens of the viewing equipment, whatever it is, at the sun. Do not look through it. Project the image onto a piece of paper that you can see clearly. You can see the crescent shape of the basketball shadowing the light sun surface right here through that, and you can also see it right through the binoculars, broadcasting it through. Now again, this is not to look through, this is just for a projector. This does a very good job of projecting it. You're going to have to play as well as you can with length and getting it focused, but this is a very good way to make sure that you can see things projected toward the ground or a piece of paper rather than using your eyes. Something else to think about, a really good idea with the kids, is you want to make certain that they are looking not towards the sun, but away from the sun, just like we use those projectors. Here's a couple of really interesting ways you can do that. Taking a box, whatever it is you can find, shoebox will do quite nicely, punching a hole on the inside of one side of the lengthwise side of things, and then looking on the inside of the box. As you look inside, looking away from the sun, casting the shadow that direction, you can see very easily the shadow of the eclipsed sun showing up on the opposite end of the box. The kids can look through this. You don't look over the hole because that'll block the sunlight. That is what you want to look through going on through there. You can also use very easily 2 pieces of paper, 2 pieces of cardstock. Just use one to punch a hole in. If I can get this to work properly. Got a hole there, then use the 2 pieces of paper to cast a shadow onto the other piece of paper, and you can carry this around, very portable, but once again the kids will be looking away from the sunshine. Okay, if you want to use a larger box, a cardboard box, something like this, you can do stuff like that, putting the hole in one end over here on one side, and then the idea is you put your head inside the box, the shadow is cast from that hole across and into there. Now, you want to remember with little kids, they're going to get tired after a long period of time, so a larger box like this might be a good option for more like adults and things like that, or you're going to have to prop this thing up a little bit to make certain, because the sun is going to be moving as this happens. So you may want to think about something smaller, like the smaller telescope box we used just a little while ago. If you want to do it, this is what it looks like on the inside. Okay, remember, you want to be looking away from the sun, not toward it. This is what it looks like. You put the box completely over your head, lower it down, and you got to experiment with angles on this, and then against the far side wall of the box, there's your shadow of the eclipse taking place right there. Okay, so the big day is here, and you still haven't gotten a copy of some eclipse glasses out there to help you protect your eyes, and you're thinking, well, that's okay, I got a neighbor who is in welding or construction, things like that, and I'll just borrow whatever he or she has to offer. That's great, but please remember that there are certain types of welding glass out there for different types of welding jobs. This one right here is welding glass number 10, and this one right here you can see lets through a pretty decent amount of light, but it still lets through quite a lot and could still damage your eyes. These are goggles that also have welding glass in them. This is welding glass level number 5, but as you can see, this is letting through even more light than what the welding helmet did. Thanks very much to Mr. George up in the Pink Palace workshop for letting me borrow these as demonstrations. The one thing you want to make certain you're doing is, again, using the Eclipse glasses if you got them. If you are going to use welding glass, you need to make certain to be able to use welder's glass level number 14 or higher. Now, this could be kind of hard to come by, so if you have any construction companies or welding companies out there that sell stuff like this, if you can't find these, you're going to need to find welder's glass number 14 and higher as a grade to be able to look through. Also could work on your camera lens, also could work on telescopes, but you've got to be able to have that to avoid that damaging your eyes. Now, how about other things like sunglasses out there, or let's say 3D movie glasses, which you can get at the Pink Palace CTI Theater. Thank you very much, Mr. Tony Hardy, for these. These help you see different effects on screen. They do not block out the light of the sun as they're supposed to. What about wearing 2 different levels of sunglasses? Also not going to work. You're not going to be able to block out that amount of sunlight out there. How about colored gels from, say, a theater department or things like that, which block out certain wavelengths and leave you with certain colors? What about folding them over 2, 4, 6, or 8 times? It is still going to let through too much light that could damage your eyes. So once again, this is something that is not going to work when you're trying to protect these things. You do not want to get retinal burns on a situation like this, so forget the sunglasses, forget the colored gels. You're going to have to get either welder's glass 14 or a proper pair of sunglasses like this, of Eclipse glasses, which again we've talked about before on News Channel 3. One last thing to touch on before we finish up. This is your opportunity to help promote science. This is something that our ancestors a long time ago did not understand. When the moon moved between the sun and the earth, some cultures thought that a dragon was eating the sun. Some thought that we had angered the gods and they were taking the sun away, neither of which was true. Nowadays, we know more about things because we're willing to ask questions and find out what the answers are. Sometimes adults are very uncomfortable with the idea of telling a kid, I don't know the answer to something. Instead, they make something up. Don't make up stuff about the eclipse or anything else involving science or astronomy. Instead, say to whoever is asking, I don't know, let's find out together. That right there is how things get done in science. Curiosity about why things are happening and finding out the answers as a team to get a little bit more knowledge about what goes on so that we're not quite scared of things anymore like we used to be out there. That right there, asking questions, being curious, that could help a youngster in your community learn more about what science is all about and how everything works. You never can tell where they might go just based on something like an eclipse happening, and that is really cool. And that right there is the heart of science, ladies and gentlemen. From the Pink Palace Museum, I'm meteorologist and chief curiosity correspondent Austen Onek. Enjoy the eclipse, stay safe, and stay tuned to News Channel 3 for updates on the forecast as we get closer.